Hello again, friends. So the only thing I'm going to do today is we're going to talk about this worksheet here, which is the first worksheet inside of your Easter packet that I put on Class Dojo. Wow, I'm struggling with words. So I put this on Class Dojo, and you are going to, parents preferably, will cut this out. If you want to task your child with cutting on these straight lines, go for it. But if they're not mostly straight lines, they're going to kind of get them mixed up, and it's supposed to be a fun puzzle of putting them in order 1 through 10. So it might be easier if the parent just does it. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what to do once you cut it. So I'm not going to cut it for the kids, but look. So here's this, and all right. So we don't want these to be in any order. So we're going to mix them all up. Mixing them up. And then we're going to look at the numbers. What is that number? That's the number 4. So I'm going to put it down. It's that number. This is the number 3. Well, I know that 3 goes before 4, and it makes total sense because if you look, this chick matches up perfectly, just like that. And then you're going to continue through. You're just going to pick different numbers, and you're going to talk about how they go in order, or maybe they find the number 1 and they start with the number 1 and go from 1 to 10. That's totally fine too, and probably easier if you just give them the number. Say, let's just say find the number 1, and you start with the number 1, and then you start with the number 1, and then the next one you're going to get is the number 2. So then they have to find the number 2. So it can go either of those 2 ways. It's a little more difficult if you just start with any number and they have to find the numbers that go before and after the number they started with and put them in order. Or you could do it as a more, it's a little less difficult if instead you start with the number 1 and have them work through, okay, what comes after 1, 2, let's find the number 2, and they have to look for the number 2 instead of telling you what the next number would be. They can just find it because you're telling them the next number is 2. All right, simple, not hard. Is not meant to be difficult. It's supposed to be fun. If you want to tape it together at the top and put it on the refrigerator or whatever you want to do with it. It's just one extra thing you could do to be practicing recognizing and expressing these numerals, which what I just talked about was if you are giving them the number and you say find the number 1, you are working on their receptive skills. So that is their understanding. But then they have to go retrieve it and they can give it to you, and that means that they recognize what that number is. Expressive skills, which are the next step, are what I said before, which is, what is this number? That's the number 6. Okay, let's start with the number 6. Or even if they wanted to start with 1, they have to find it. But I'm saying, like, let's just say, okay, well, let's start with the number 6. Well, the next thing I got was the number 10. Okay, well, does 10 before or after 6? And then they can kind of decipher the puzzle that way. It is completely up to you, but it can be taught in 2 different ways, and whichever way works for you. 3-year-olds class, that's what I said, I would ask them, where is the number 1? Where is the number 2? Do you see the number 3? Whereas my 4-year-old class, it is more of leaving them to their own devices to independently figure out the puzzle. That's completely up to you, or you can do it both ways. That works too. Have a wonderful day. If you have any questions, please let me know. I will be glad to answer them for you. Bye.